eating the full protein food is going to be better for your fat loss than the protein powder because of the energy it is required for your body to digest it.
Hi, welcome to the Judy Terrell Show, where I explore topics intended to optimize everybody 50, 60, 70, and above.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to your second 50 and episode number 5 in my 6-part series on my fat loss tips for men and women who are over 50. And welcome, everybody. And these are my fat loss tips because, I have a 43-year practice and I'm in my office day in and day out with clients, and I specialize in weight management for over 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. I have younger clients too, and I see, success, and then I see people get stalled or regain, and then I've been, I have like my own science experiment. I'm sleuthing out where are the sticking points, what is happening that's blocking the fat loss for my clients, and then seeing the themes, and that's what this video series is about, okay? So I have 1 through 4 that I've already done. If you haven't watched them, go back, because each one is going to be a tool in your toolbox, and really all 6 are going to be the best, strike for your fat loss goals. But this is number 5, okay? And so what I'm going to talk about in this video is it's not what you eat and the amount of calories that you take in. It is. We have to target that. But what you take in isn't what you absorb into your body, okay? Because we are feeding trillions and trillions of microorganisms in our gut, and they are feeding off things too. And if we are feeding them in a way that they're eating some of what we're eating, then we're not absorbing all of the calories from that food, because we're kind of, feeding our guests that help to keep us healthy. All right, so that's number 1 on how what we're eating, it's not what we're eating or the calories that we're eating, but how many calories we're absorbing, okay, is affected, for our weight loss goals. So we're feeding these microorganisms, so we want to make sure we're feeding the good ones that are also eating some of the calories before they get absorbed into our body. And the second way that we are, it's not just the calorie amount that you're eating, but how much is absorbed, is that it actually takes energy for digestion. All right, it's called the thermal effect of food. Okay, and so there are some foods that the calorie amount, it's 100 calories for whatever the portion is, and you eat it, it requires very little energy to digest it, and then it goes right into your bloodstream, 100 calories, maybe 99. And then you're getting those 99 calories to have to either burn off or store or use for energy, okay? If you're eating foods that take more energy to actually do the work of digestion, then if you're eating 100 calories of that food, and it costs you 25 calories to actually metabolically burn it, and not burn it, but metabolically digest it down into its smallest components, which are then absorbed through the mucous membrane of your intestines and then into your bloodstream, and then your body's going to use that for energy or repair or rebuilding or store it as fat. You can see that some foods that have a higher calorie thermal effect are going to net less calorie absorption into your body and then help you with fat loss. So those are the 2 main mechanisms for how we can make choices for what we're eating and take a better advantage of the calorie burn and the feeding of these other animals in us, so that we're not absorbing the amount of calories we're eating. We're eating this amount, we're absorbing this amount, and that's going to help us with a net calorie deficit for weight loss, for fat loss, okay? So let me dig into that a little bit deeper, okay? Because I wanted to highlight that so you stay with me on this video, but this is really important to know. So I want to talk about the foods that we eat that feed the other animals that live within us, right? So we want to make sure that we're eating high fiber, whole foods, that when we eat them, they go into our, digestive system, and the things that we are eating are also feeding these other organisms, okay? The more that we're eating whole foods with fiber and these nutrients, from phytonutrients, amino acids from proteins, they're feeding our good bacteria as well as us. They are absorbing those calories before we absorb them. And then if we're eating 100 calories, we're going to be taking in less calories through our system. So we want to, my number one tip here on, how to eat foods that are going to be this amount of calories going in, but absorbed at a lower amount of calories into our body, whole foods with fiber, okay? So, a sweet potato or a white potato versus a gluten-free flour bread is one example. Much more fiber in those whole foods. Beans versus a pasta, okay? More fiber in the beans, less fiber in the pasta.
Your Second 50 Life is my virtual platform that is designed for both men and women over 50 and 60, 70, and 80. And it includes pre-recorded video information on exercise and how to do it, whether you're fit and in good health, or if you have bad knees, bad shoulders, a bad back, whatever. It includes information on how to eat for weight management and how to eat for health management. It includes information on the psychology of aging and what do we need to do in our heads, because let's face it, this aging thing is not for the faint of heart. So your Second 50 Life is a virtual platform of resources that you can access at your own leisure, but it also includes 2 times a month live video coaching with me so that you can bring your own individual questions and get individual coaching, as well as have access to all the information on the pre-recorded videos. So please check it out, because we're all in this together and we got this.
So if you're eating the same amount of calories, 100 calories of beans and 100 calories of pasta, you take in those 100 calories, and on the surface, when you do the, recording on your food app in your, phone, it's going to come out at the same amount of calorie deficit or maintenance or gain. But in the reality of your body, those 200 calories, beans versus pasta, you actually absorbed 75 calories from the beans and a full 100 from the pasta. And that doesn't show up on the apps that you're tracking, okay? So it's going to be to your benefit if you are stalled at weight loss, or if you had weight loss and then you're getting stalled, or you can't get it to start. You want to be picking foods that are higher fiber and whole food based than things that are processed, because they are going to, the elements that are in the whole foods are feeding the good animals that live within us, and they're eating some of it too. And so the net intake into your absorption system is going to be lower than foods that are processed and are feeding, funguses and molds and the pathogen bacteria that live in you. And they make you want to eat more of them, by the way. So it's hard to keep to the calorie intake, but they're not absorbing as much of the calories than if you're eating the whole foods, where those other good bacteria are, okay? So that's number one on, it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb, and what you need to do to try and get the weight loss, respiked back. Eat the whole foods with the high fibers and the complete proteins. And now the second way I mentioned is that, it takes a certain amount of energy to digest certain foods, and some foods require more energy to do that, and some foods require less. So it's going to be to your advantage to eat the foods that require more energy to digest. So what are those foods? Protein and high fiber foods, which I already talked about. But protein takes more energy for your body to actually break it down into its components. And so if you're eating 100 calories of, fish or chicken or tofu, then your body has to digest that, and it's going to take 25 calories for the thermal effect of the food, and now you're only absorbing 75 from that 100. And the whole food protein, it's not just protein. Please catch me like my lingo, my words I'm using. Whole food protein. Because protein powders, they're going to have the same grams of protein. I have a lot of clients making this mistake who are trying to lose weight. They're like, well, I need to get the protein in, and so I'm using a protein powder, or I don't have time to cook eggs or eat like whole food for breakfast, or I prefer the smoothie or the protein shake because it tastes like, a milkshake. But those 20 grams of protein that you're taking in the powdered form, the manufacturing plant that made that has already done the absorption. They've done the work, okay, of digesting that down into the components of the amino acids. And now when you take in that protein powder, so 100 or 20 grams of protein powder versus 20 grams of chicken is different when it comes to the thermal effect of digesting it. And so eating the full protein food is going to be better for your fat loss than the protein powder, because of the energy it is required for your body to digest it. And this is one of the biggest stumbling blocks I'm seeing in my clients who are smart, who are informed, who are trying to do all the right things, okay? So it's not what you eat, but it's how many calories that you're actually absorbing. So it's not the calories, the amount of calories that you eat is not the same amount of calories that you are absorbing. And you can focus in on high fiber and whole food, fruits and vegetables and grains, and high whole food protein sources, and you're going to be absorbing less calories than the same amount of calories from more processed and not whole food sources. Okay? I hope that gets in your brain. I hope I explained it in a way that you can understand, because that is really important. And it's a major blind spot for most of my very smart over 50 men and women clients who are trying to lose weight. All right, everybody, this is tip number 5. I have one more, number 6 coming up, but I really encourage you go back and watch the other 4 if you haven't watched them and you're just catching this one out of the blue, because by the end of the series, these 6 are going to all add up, and comprehensively, I would almost I risk basing my reputation on the fact that you will see that scale come down if you're instituting these 6 tips where it was stalled before. Okay? My personal guarantee, because I've seen it in action. All right, everybody, I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, you have got this, and I'll see you soon. And if you'd like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judyterrell.com.